Imagine a world where humans can be cloned, an exact genetic copy of you or someone else. It might sound like science fiction, but cloning isn't just an idea from books or movies. The science behind cloning has been around for decades, and we've already achieved some incredible milestones. But how does cloning actually work? How did it all begin? And why is human cloning so controversial? Let's dive into the fascinating history and science of cloning. Cloning isn't new. The concept of creating identical copies of living things has been around for centuries in nature. For example, many plants reproduce by cloning themselves, and some simple animals like starfish can regenerate their limbs. But the idea of humans controlling this process, that's where the real story begins. The first steps toward modern cloning started in the 1950s when scientists successfully cloned frogs. Using a process called nuclear transfer, they managed to create genetic copies of these amphibians. It was groundbreaking at the time, but cloning mammals, more complex organisms, was still considered science fiction. Everything changed in 1996 with Dolly the sheep. Dolly was the first mammal ever cloned from an adult cell, and her birth marked a turning point in science. She wasn't just another sheep. She was proof that cloning was possible on a large scale. But how did scientists do it? The process used to create Dolly is called somatic cell nuclear transfer, or SCNT. Here's how it works. First, scientists take an egg cell and carefully remove its nucleus, the part that holds the cell's DNA. Then they replace that nucleus with the DNA from a donor cell, like a skin cell from the organism they want to clone. After that, they stimulate the egg to divide, forming an embryo. This embryo is implanted into a surrogate mother who carries it to term. The result? A living clone that is genetically identical to the donor. It's a complex and delicate process, and even with Dolly, it wasn't perfect. Dolly was the only success out of 277 attempts. That's right. Scientists tried 277 times before they finally created one viable clone. This highlights how difficult and unpredictable cloning can be, even in animals. So, could this process work for humans? Technically, yes. The same principles could be applied to clone a human being. But it's far from that simple. Human cloning raises a host of ethical and legal questions. If we could create a human clone, what rights would that person have? Would they be treated as an individual or just as a copy? And what about the risks? The high failure rate seen in animal cloning could lead to unimaginable consequences if applied to humans. That's why reproductive human cloning, creating an actual human being, is banned in most countries. The risks, both scientific and ethical, are considered too great. However, there's another type of cloning that's still being explored: therapeutic cloning. Therapeutic cloning doesn't aim to create a whole organism. Instead, it focuses on creating cells, tissues, or even organs that can be used for medical treatments. For example, scientists hope to one day use this technology to grow replacement organs for patients or to treat diseases like Parkinson's and diabetes. It's a promising field, but it's not without its controversies. One of the biggest debates around therapeutic cloning involves the use of embryonic stem cells. These are cells taken from early-stage embryos, which can develop into any type of cell in the body. While they hold incredible potential for curing diseases, using them raises ethical questions about the status of the embryo. As cloning technology continues to evolve, it opens the door to possibilities we once thought impossible. Imagine being able to clone organs for transplant, or even bring back extinct species. But with these advancements come difficult questions. How far should we go? Should we ever allow human cloning? And if so, what safeguards would we need to ensure it's done responsibly? The story of cloning is still being written. It's a tale of incredible scientific progress, but also one of caution and deep ethical reflection. What do you think? Should we embrace cloning as a tool for the future, or are some boundaries better left untouched?